GP4OC, a series that has created so many moments and a series that has been around now for 5 years, and to this day it continues to grow from strength to strength. But how did we get to this point? This is the story of GP4OC. It started in September 2015 when Azul Zafri, aka Ashumi, decided to start a GP4 offline series using the 2006 Formula 1 mod. It was seen as a way to get a community that had been missing from the YouTube scene for a couple of years back on its feet. There had been a few attempts to get the F1 Offline League community back ever since the likes of the GP3 Championship from JWF1, the YouTube F1 Championship from Smuggler's Button 4, and the Team Shadika series from Grand Prix Yannick all ended. However, none of these plans ever gained traction. Sign-ups for this series started in September of 2015, where 12 drivers signed up, whilst the other 10 consisted of real-life F1 drivers to make up the numbers, but would be replaced once other people started joining in. The first ever qualifying session, which is not available to view anymore, was uploaded on the 2nd of October 2015, with the race being uploaded the day after on the 3rd. The quality of the first ever race, which was held in Bahrain, as the season would follow the real-life F1 2006 calendar, wasn't the best, with the video only being uploaded in 480p, but was addressed at the following race in Malaysia when it was up to 720p, which at the time was high definition for YouTube. The first ever race was won by Joshua Anderson, who would go on to win 3 more races during the course of the 2006 season. One of those races came at the Nürburgring, which was the first GP4OC race to use the 100% race distance after the first 4 races were done with 60% race distance. 6 other winners were crowned during 2006, which consisted of the Honda of James Willows, the Williams of Felix Sontag, the McLaren of Jack Boyman, the Renault of Kellen Bryce, the Ferrari of Will Neller, and the McLaren of Joseph Willows, who was the older brother of James Willows. Joseph would end up fighting with Joshua Anderson for the title at the finale in Brazil, which would be the second ever race that would be live streamed on YouTube, with the previous race in Suzuka being the first. Joshua led the championship by 2 points going into the finale, and in the end, Joseph Willows, who hadn't led the championship during the course of the season, ended up winning the title after Renault made a huge blunder in the pits, stacking both Bryce and Anderson. Despite this though, Renault were able to win the Constructors, however it wasn't a double celebration for the French team. After a successful first ever season, as announced towards the end of the 2006 season that there would be a second season using the 2007 F1 mod. At this point, the name GP4OC became a thing. Sign-ups were open towards the back end of the 2006 season, and it saw drivers being allowed to design their own helmets for the first time. However, one name that didn't sign up again for another season was Joshua Anderson, who decided to retire after just 1 season. Sign-ups were much higher than the first ever sign-up, however there were still some real-life drivers on the grid to make up the numbers. However, by the time the Canadian Grand Prix came around, which was round 6 of the championship, there were no real-life F1 drivers on the grid, as all the grid slots were taken by members of the community. From this point, more people started watching the series, one of those including future 4-time world champion Florian Volker, who would end up making his debut in 2008. The 2007 season saw the championship yet again go down to the final race, however the season was plagued by the series' only cancelled race, which was the Turkish Grand Prix, due to a massive pit lane entrance glitch. The championship came down to 3 drivers, which were the McLarens of Joseph Willows and Yuri Mata, and the Ferrari of Will Neller. Going into the final race, Willows led the championship by 5 points ahead of Neller and a further 3 points ahead of Mata. Joseph was considered the favourite to defend the title in the finale, however little did anyone know just how dramatic the final race would turn out. In the early laps, Neller crashed out, ending his chances of winning the title, and then after the lap 50 mark, Joseph Willows, who was leading the race comfortably, crashed out at the same corner as Neller, with Mata losing his front wing in the process. With Willows and Neller out, Mata needed to mount a fight back and finish in second to win the 2007 title. Luckily for him, he rejoined 5th behind the 2 Renaults of Kellen Bryce and James Willows, who needed to stop again, and the Williams of Jack Boyman. Mata passed Boyman, and after the 2 Renaults made their final stops, Mata found himself in second place behind the BMW of George Roque, where he would stay to the end of the race, which as a result crowned Yuri Mata the 2007 world champion, with McLaren winning their first of 3 constructors' crowns that they would win in GP4OC. However, towards the end of the season, it was announced that AZ Shumi would be leaving his role as GP4OC host, and from the 2008 season onwards, the reins would be handing over to Yuri Mata, aka Yuri123. The 2008 season saw a new era for GP4OC, with Yuri taking over the series. The 2008 season saw the introduction of pre-season testing, seen as a way of testing elements of a mod. Despite the host change, the series continued to grow, and it grew so much that it came to a point where there were a lot of people but not enough seats. Towards the end of the first half of 2008, it was announced that a Tier 2 would be created in the form of GP2. The first season would use the 2005 mod and would consist of real people with random names filling the grid until more people entered the series. In later seasons, GP2 would use the 2009 mod and then would use the mod that is still being used today, which is the 2011 GP2 mod. There are future plans for an F2 mod to be used in the future, but so far a mod of that hasn't been made yet. The 2008 season saw Joseph Willows win his second world title and would make him the first ever person to win the title before the finale and the first person to win 2 titles, whilst McLaren won their second Constructors title in a row. Yuri Marta retired from GP4OC after Monaco, having wanted to focus on hosting the series, leaving Felix Sontar to replace him at McLaren after he quit Ferrari due to bad luck. The 2009 season saw a change in the guard due to the new regulations, and it would also see McLaren's streak of drivers' titles come to an end in the form of Brawn GP's Miklos Gau, who won the title at Suzuka despite crashing out, and Brawn would also win the Constructors in their one and only season. Miklos had already made a name for himself in 2008, having taken his first win at Monza, driving the midfield Toro Rosso team. The 2009 season also saw the first win for future 4-time world champion Florian Volker, driving for Red Bull, and a shocking first and to date only win for Force India, courtesy of Sam Thompson. 2009 also saw the first calendar tweaks via viewer votes, which saw Canada being re-added after spending a year in real life on the sidelines due to the track breaking up in certain parts, and Abu Dhabi and Brazil switching places to ensure Brazil would be the finale at every season of GP4OC. Other votes in the future seasons included determining the 11th team for 2015 between Caterham and Haas, which Haas won by a few votes, the Nürburgring being put on the 2015 and 2017 calendars due to the shareholding agreement still being a thing at that time, and a vote to determine what the 5th tier would be between Formula BMW and BTCC, in which BTCC ended up winning. In 2010, a 3rd tier was introduced as a result of more people wanting to join in the form of DTM, and for the first time in GP4OC history, another host was added to ensure the 3rd tier would go ahead due to timing reasons on Yuri's end, the host in question being Florian Volker, aka Dioka. Ironically, the 2010 season would also see Florian win his first of 4 World Championships, with the other 3 coming in 2011, 2013 and 2015, which would also see him become the first driver to win a title with 2 different teams, these teams being Red Bull and Ferrari. The season also saw the introduction of test and reserve drivers, who would be called in every time a driver got injured or got banned from the series. The 2010 season also saw Will Neller retire from the series at the end of the season first time around, and would also be the last time that Joseph Willows would race for McLaren, with him ultimately replacing Neller at Ferrari. Red Bull also won the Constructors as a result of James Willows ensuring it would be a Red Bull 1-2 in the drivers, a feat that Volker, James and Red Bull would repeat in 2011 despite stiff competition from McLaren's Evan Byrne, who got 6 wins that season, and Ferrari's Joseph Willows. However, 2011 would mark James's last season in the top class due to briefly losing interest in Formula 1 and frustration of losing the title 2 seasons in a row. Miklos Gau would replace James at Red Bull for 2012, with Viggo Holst replacing Gal at McLaren, the team that Gau raced with from 2010 after Brawn was took over by Mercedes. However, Red Bull were not able to repeat the success of 2010 and 2011 and ended up losing both titles in 2012 to Viggo Holst, which would be his one and only title in the top class, and McLaren became the first team to win 3 Constructors titles that year as well. However, McLaren did have 1 seat interchange during the season, as Evan Byrne pulled out of Silverstone, making way for their test driver Will Neller to make a brief return to the OC, and then he ended up leaving the series after Hockenheim due to things going on in his private life. Byrne would return to the top class from 2015, having spent a season in DTM, where he would drive for Sauber, Haas and the team that he's currently racing, Renault. Also during that time in 2012, Yuri Marta also made a brief return to the top class to replace Byrne for the remainder of the season, where he was able to pick up 2 more wins to his resume before going back into retirement after 2012. He made a brief appearance again in 2016 for McLaren, but then retired again after 2016, becoming a test driver for Red Bull in the process before retiring fully at the end of 2017. The 2013 season had a lot of hype surrounding the season, which included the return of Will Neller driving for Lotus. However, the series took an unexpected 1-month break due to issues with Yuri's computer, which resulted in him getting a new powerful PC, which he has used ever since, and as a result led him to streaming in 60 frames per second. The 2013 season would also mark the last season the top class would use V8 engines, as a result of the series switching to V6 turbocharged hybrids from 2014. The 2013 season saw Florian Volker and Red Bull reclaim the titles that they lost in 2012, with Miklos Gau making it a 1-2 in the drivers' standings. Red Bull, as a result, also became the second team to win 3 Constructors titles. The 2013 season also saw the debut of the popular GP4OC news series, which was a format based on Sky Sports News and would announce drivers during GP4OC's silly season, which would occur during the second half of the season. The first ever season of the GP4OC News will see a dramatic change in the lineup, which consisted of Weiskuber moving from Ferrari to Mercedes, Will Neller moving from Lotus to Williams, Robert Ionescu moving from Lotus to Red Bull, and Florian Volker in a massive swerve moving from Red Bull to Ferrari. The 2014 season saw the debut of the V6 turbocharged hybrids after 8 seasons with the V8, and on top of that it would also see the launch of the GP4OC channel. Set up by former OC host AZ Shumi, it would be used to upload GP4OC related content. It would also be used to upload highlights that were edited by JWF1, after Yuri, who initially edited the highlights, handed the reins over to him due to timing issues. It also saw the introduction of a Tier 4 in the form of Formula E, after the series grew even more, which would be hosted by JWF1, who come the second race of the season for F3 would finish hosting IFMC. The 2014 season would see a brand new champion being crowned in the form of Poland's Jay Mackenzie driving for Mercedes, whilst Mercedes would win their first of 3 constructors titles. One person who was a star throughout 2014 was the Williams of Roman Quarg, who finished runner-up in the championship after a dreadful 2013 season, which led to people assuming he'd be out of a drive for 2014. Will Neller finished third in the championship for Williams, which as a result gave him the Mercedes seat for 2015 after Weiskuber had a nightmare season, which as a result led to him retiring from the OC as a whole after the 2014 season due to other commitments. The 2014 season would also see Yuri taking a break from hosting the Top Class and GP2 after the season drew to a close due to him having to spend mandatory time in the Finnish military from June to December of 2019. The 2015 season saw a new era for GP4OC, with Formula E host JWF1 taking over the series temporarily and running the Top Class for the 2015 and 2016 seasons, with DTM host Dioka running GP2 for those 2 seasons as well, which would later become a permanent role due to timing issues on Yuri's end, which meant that as a result, 2014 marked the final time Yuri hosted GP2. As a result of JWF1 running things temporarily, the schedule had a slight tweak, with Formula E being on a Monday instead of a Thursday, whilst the Top Class would just be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, regardless of whether GP2 was on or not. It would also see the live streams for the first ever time move to the GP4OC channel, which is still the case today. Despite a few bumps along the way, JWF1's time as temporary host was a success. The 2 seasons he hosted saw the record for the most wins of the season being broken twice, with 2015 seeing a very shocking championship result. Before the season began, many people were expecting Mercedes to retain both championships. However, that didn't happen, as the season saw Florian Volker win his 4th World Championship, with Ferrari giving the prancing horse their first drivers and constructors crowns in the OC. For 2016 though, after a shocking season from Ferrari, Mercedes recaptured both titles, with Jay Mackenzie becoming the 3rd driver in the Top Class to become a double world champion after a lengthy battle with his teammate Will Neller. Mackenzie and Neller were able to smash the record for the most wins in a season, and Mercedes were able to set a record for the most wins for a constructor in the season, with 17 wins out of 21 races that were ran in 2016. After the 2016 season, Yuri returned from the Finnish military and took back control of the OC, which as a result saw Formula E move back to a Thursday, and the Top Class moving back to its Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday route whenever GP2 was on. The 2017 season, which is the most recent season of GP4OC, began in April of 2020, and it saw the cars change dramatically from 2016 thanks to new regulations. Due to the continuous rise of the series, a 5th tier was also introduced in the form of the British Touring Car Championship hosted by JWF1, which was selected to be Tier 5 after a vote was made to determine the 5th tier between BTCC and Formula BMW, which would have been hosted by Dioka if it got nominated. The series continued to grow even more during the 2017 season, which in part may have been down to the lack of real-life motorsport being on at the time due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to this pandemic, the 2017 season was marred by the tragic death of their Manor driver Nicolas Pascali, who lost his life to the virus after being diagnosed for the 2nd time. The week of the Canadian Grand Prix was seen as a tribute to Pascali, with special liveries and helmets being made to commemorate his life. Still to this day, he is missed greatly by the community. The 2017 season saw a very competitive championship between 3 teams, which were Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. After an instant pat race for car in Kota and a collision between the Ferrari teammates in Abu Dhabi, the Ferrari and Red Bull drivers found themselves out of the title fight in Brazil, with the 2 Mercedes drivers left to duke it out for the title for the 2nd year in a row. However, at this point, it was seen as an end of an era for Mercedes, with Mackenzie moving to Renault for 2018 after losing the Merc seat to Franco Lopez, and Neller deciding to retire from the Top Class again after 2017, which is something he announced halfway in 2016. The Brazilian Grand Prix also marked the final race for Force India's Rick Yan, who shockingly announced his retirement from the OC in the final team news of the season after initially being announced as a Red Bull driver for 2018. Joel Hotto, as a result, was announced as Rick's replacement in a shocking move. Despite it being a 23-point gap, the final race of the 2017 season saw a nail-biting and tense title-deciding race, which in the end saw Will Kneller, after many seasons of trying, win his first and only world title in the top class, with the reaction to his title win being very popular within the GP4OC community. This, as a result, was deemed a successful return to hosting for Yuri123. And so comes 2018, a new dawn for GP4OC, with the hashtag of the series being dubbed New Gen vs Old Gen, reflecting on the fact that the 2018 silly season was one of the most craziest in seasons, which led to the likes of Lopez being at Mercedes, Carr at Ferrari, and Hutter to the surprise of everyone at Red Bull. It also led to Florian Volker moving to Mercedes, whilst Willows and Gal remained put at Ferrari and Red Bull. The 2018 season is looking to be an exciting season, and it is one we cannot wait to get underway. Not only are we looking forward to 2018, but we are also looking forward to the future, especially when we switch to the fantasy car performances from the 2021 season. To see how far the series has come from September 2015 is mind-boggling, and that really comes down to the people involved in the series who made the entertaining Grand Prix 4 series what it is. From the hosts to the editors to even the people who take part or watch the series, these people have made the series grow over the last few years and is continuing to grow to this day. It shows that GP4OC hasn't reached its peak yet and is only just getting started. I hope you've enjoyed the videos that have been put out this week celebrating GP4OC, and we thank everyone not just for viewing the content but has supported GP4OC during these last 5 years. It's been an amazing roller coaster and it will continue to grow from strength to strength. Happy anniversary GP4OC, and here's to the next 5 years.